So this is my questionnaire, and I am just going to be filming and speaking about my results. So this is the first question I asked. I asked, what is your biggest fear? And the responses were very different, as it were. A lot of people, fear wasn't up in the list of options. It was down. They wrote about it in the other section. So the main one was other, but the ones in the options, the biggest one was spiders, and then one person. So 7 people said out of 18 voted for spiders. 1 out of 18 voted for heights, and then these are my other results. So there were a lot of different ones. There was death, rats, frogs, a lot of animals, pigeons, sloths, banana spiders, and clowns. Obviously, clowns is a very known one, especially in horror, because clowns is, especially killer clowns like Pennywise, people are often scared of him because of his facial features and the fact that he's human, as it were, but also not. So that was my first question. So from this I can learn that a lot of people are afraid of animals, fear itself, so people are scared of to be afraid maybe, and spiders, which I will take into consideration when I'm creating my trailer, poster and magazine cover. So the second question I asked was, how often do you watch a horror film? So the options were every day, once a week, once a month, once a year, never, or other. Please specify. So the most common answer was once a month. 10 people answered once a month. 1 person answered once a week. Again, 1 person answered once a year. 3 people answered never, and 3 people answered other. So the other choices, the other things people wrote were whenever I have time, as often as possible, occasionally, more so now that I do media. So there's obviously a media student there. So that was, again, people don't really choose to watch horror as often. I mean, the minority do, but the majority watch it like once a month or whenever they have time to watch it. So the next question I asked, question 3, what is the scariest horror film you've seen? So a lot of the answers here were to do with paranormal / supernatural from that genre. So I had Paranormal Activity, obviously, and no Paranormal Activity there again here. I've got Insidious 2, It, The Conjuring, Ouija, Conjuring, The Hostel. Someone said they didn't have a scary horror film, maybe they don't find horror film scary. Saw. This person here said they don't have a scary film, but the ones that they find the most scary are usually based around a religion. So that might have been a film maybe like Deliver Us from Evil, or The Conjuring's got elements of religion in it as well. We've got The Hole and Conjuring again. So I think the most scariest horror film that my audience have seen, target audience have seen, is The Conjuring, which ties in really well with my ideas for my trailer, or a film trailer, which I think is me and my partner really want to do a psychological / supernatural horror film. So question 4 was, why do you find that particular movie scary? So the ones above. Again, the answers were paranormal elements. People said the ghosts, plot and costumes of the ghosts, clowns, suspense, true story. So I found a couple of my people in my target audience said that true events scared them. So films based on true events scared them. Because I reckon it's because, sometimes I feel this way as well. People are scared of real events because they know it could happen. And I know some horror films don't act, they just say they're based on true events and it's like a really small, tiny bit of the actual story, but some things can happen, like moral panics. So example would be the Purge election year. That could happen. A corrupt government could happen, and like stuff like diseases could spread, and I mean people probably wouldn't turn into zombies, but we would die in a mass amount. So I think the biggest answers were suspense, supernatural paranormal elements, and real life events. So my question 5 was, what sub-genres of horror do you like? The options were action, comedy, psychological, sci-fi, slasher, supernatural, gothic, zombie, and other. So this was a question where you could pick more than one answer. So 2 people picked action, 6 people picked comedy out of the amount of things they chose. 13 picked psychological, which led that one to be the most popular. 1 chose sci-fi, 4 chose slasher, 9 chose supernatural, 6 chose gothic, 4 chose zombie, and 1 chose other. And I think the answer is none. Yeah, it's none. So they don't like horror films at all. Sorry. My favourite genre would be comedy / psychological / supernatural, because I think all those elements, supernatural and psychology, definitely tie in together. And if you're not looking for a really scary horror and something to laugh at, but also is a bit gory, then comedy is a really good genre to pick, subgenre of horror. And I would say psychological is really good because you don't really know what's going to happen, and you don't know what is there. It's the fear of the unknown, but it's kind of in a good way sometimes. So that is also why me and my partner have chosen psychological, because we really like the idea of playing with the audience's mind in a good way, as it were. So that was my question 5. Yep, so this is question 6. I then asked people, who is your favourite horror villain and why? So people said, it ranges really from Babadook, Pennywise, none. Some people don't have a favourite horror villain. Joker, Jigsaw, Babool, Scream, Pennywise. So from this question I could take away that the fact that a lot of the villains here were human in looks, but certain features weren't human-like, as it were. So Babadook, Pennywise, and Freddy, for example, that are on the screen, are at the top. The first in the first 4. They're all human, in human figures, but Freddy has I think it's like a pink kind of. It's almost as if it was like just like the skin had gone and it was just muscly. Pennywise obviously is a clown, which is obviously probably why he's scary, and the Babadook has dark mouth, like a black hole mouth, as it were, scary eyes, and scary hair. I think so. That is probably why these things are scary. Some people said why they find them scary. This person said he's my favourite because from the horror films Sinister 1 and 2. They said that the Scream one because it's funny. Pennywise has a retro scary vibe, which means that this person obviously likes classic horror films. The Scream Ghost isn't that scary, but I still have elements of fear about him. So a lot of people said that they liked these horror villains because they weren't scary, but they also were in a way. Question 7 was, who is the scariest horror villain? So that was my favourite, and this was scariest. Who is the scariest horror villain in your opinion and why? So yeah, as I said before, it's because the human-like in that scares me. Inhumane, also so the other end of the spectrum, they're not human at all. So they're like opposite to us, and we don't really see ghosts and monsters, as it were, in everyday life. So we're not used to them, whereas we are used to humans, and that makes them scary. But also inhumane, the fact we're not used to them also makes it scary. So it's obviously balancing the monsters and stuff. Pennywise, person afraid of clowns. They don't have a scary horror villain. This one said Pennywise because of the current situation, because of the killer clowns and stuff. So that's again linking into the moral panics theory. and Freddy Krueger, how he's portrayed in his storyline. So a lot of these also could do with the fact of how they are portrayed. So obviously Freddy Krueger is supposed. A lot of horror villains are very confident. So Michael Myers, he just kills anyone because he doesn't care. So that's a lot of confidence there. The Babadook again. So yeah. Question 8 was who do you think is important in a horror trailer / movie? So what do you think is important in a horror trailer / movie? So again, this was you could pick more than one option. So there were blood, gore, heavy breathing, whispering, domestic setting, dark lighting, silence, and other. 6 people voted for blood, 2 people voted for gore, 7 people voted for heavy breathing, 9 people voted for whispering, 4 people voted for domestic settings like houses, even, safe settings really would have been in that category. 9 voted for dark lighting, 10 voted for silence, and 7 voted for other. And the responses from other were jump scare. I think that's a really big thing, because if the audience is scared, then making them jump, I think, is kind of the aim of a movie, I would say, because you don't want people to laugh at your trailer or horror movie. You want them to be scared. So I think it's a very big, important element in it. The music used, so it could link in with silence and eerie music maybe. Something that can be relatable to people, if people can see themselves in the setting. Oh, so that's like domestic setting, but maybe, you might be in a bathroom or in a hospital even. That can make it scary, because in a hospital you're meant to be safe, because you're meant to be looking after. You can't really, if you've got a broken leg, you couldn't really move. So you'd need people around you to make you feel safe and comfortable. So, yeah. What is your favourite horror film and why is question 9. So I think a lot of these ones were either not really horror, as it were, more like thriller horror or gothic horror, or comedy. So people said Slither because it's funny, scary, funny. Woman in Black, Grudge, The Woman in Black again. This person said they don't watch horror. And The Boy. The ending of the film isn't what you think it is. That again, that could be another thing. Plot twists, and it goes in with the Enigma code. How the audience has to put together a puzzle, and if you think you've put the puzzle together and then you haven't at the end, and it's a different ending to what you thought, I think that would be a good ending, because then you're like, oh, I didn't think that was going to happen. Wow, I'm shocked. And then I think the best thing about a movie is if people are talking about it at the end for days on end, because that way you're spreading the word about the film, more people will watch it, and this person is still trying to figure out what happened and why it happened. I think that's good. So, so Scream, it's not as scary. So a lot of things people like about horror film, their favourite horror film, is that it's not scary. So my last question was question 10. It was, what is your least favourite horror film and why? A lot of this was due down to the fact it's actually really scary, or it was not scary at all. So an example of this was Halloween. This person says because it drags and is not that scary. Halloween is meant to be one of the scariest films of all time, or something like that. And the fact this person said it's quite predictable isn't actually really good. You don't want a film to be quite predictable. Nosferatu, I think that's due to the element of it's quite an old film, like it's a classic, and people nowadays don't really count classics as scary anymore. In those times they were, but in these times they're not anymore, really. This person says Annabelle was very badly made and not scary. It just seems too cheesy. Annabelle again. Miss Peregrine's peculiar children because it's not supposed to be a horror, but it scares me, and The Conjuring, it's too scary for me. So that was my questionnaire that I put out to my target audience. I got 18 responses, as you can see here. And yeah, I think taking away from this the fact that my target audience likes psychological / supernatural horror. They don't really like to be scared too much, but a little bit is alright. I think the unknown is definitely in the fear of the unknown is a big not, I wouldn't say big hit, but like a big thing in the horror genre that my target audience likes. And then do like a good villain. So thanks for watching.